What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. Player ratings for the Southampton loss, another loss on the road for Tottenham Hotspur, with no real signs of light at the end of the tunnel, to be honest. This is our player ratings. We lost 1-0 at St Mary's on New Year's Day.
Completing a clean sheetless year away from home.
Yeah, well, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's get straight into it.
We start off with Paulo Gazzaniga with a game of 5. He didn't have too much to do. Yeah, he didn't have too much to do during the majority of the game. He made a good early save from Redmond, albeit he did spill it in front of him quite a bit badly, and Toby had to mop it up. Other moments of frustration where he was in possession, his kicking was a bit frustrating. He would clear the ball long many times to no avail with no real direction, and especially when we had opportunities for a counter-attack, a couple of times he wasted them. But other than that, he didn't do too much, couldn't really do much with the goal.
I just found it so frustrating, like you just mentioned. Every time it looked like we had an attack on to build from the back, you know, he would just boot it up there and it would just end up with a Southampton head or something like that. It was just really frustrating. But anyway, moving on to Serge Aurier, we gave him a 4. Another lacklustre performance from Serge Aurier. I thought it was full of energy, to be honest, but no real quality at the end of that energy. I thought he kept losing the ball, kept running into trouble, no quality at the end of his crosses. And yeah, that's about it really.
I felt like the players didn't give it to him early enough. I felt like he was in space a lot of the time, and they delayed it. And once they finally gave it to him, all of a sudden he had 2 men swarming on him, and he couldn't really get away. And I think it was but he did have a pretty bad performance, and it was summed up by that last-minute cross which went out of play. And Dele Alli was absolutely fuming at him at his lack of quality and his lack of final ball. And he got into some good positions, but the quality just wasn't there.
You know, it's the same thing we keep saying time and time again about Serge Aurier. The positioning he gets, the positions he finds himself in are great, but there's just very rarely quality at the end of them. Yeah. But we've seen it before. You know, we know he can put in crosses because we've seen them before.
Maybe
it's just the consistency of his crossing. Yeah.
Anyway, next up, Ryan Sessegnon, we gave him a 6. I thought on the day he was one of the few players who actually did his best to actually keep possession, and I thought he did a decent job in that aspect. I thought defensively he wasn't terrible, albeit wasn't fantastic, but I felt like when he got forward a couple of times he looked quite dangerous. But again, it's a confidence issue with him. He just doesn't have that confidence to be going past the last defender, making that run inside, as we've seen him do many times to Fulham. And I think he showed in this game that he actually does have a bit of quality on his final ball. He just didn't show it enough.
Well, I kind of disagree with you saying that he was probably one of our better players. Well, I think that first of all, I thought that the Tottenham players weren't looking for him often enough, and I felt that he was, a lot of the times, especially in that first half, he was in space and Tottenham players just weren't looking for him or didn't pass to him.
I agree with that.
And then I thought that every time he did get the ball, he struggles to take it past his man, or even to look to take it past his man, and he really needs to build up his confidence, really does, and I think that it's hindering him big time.
I don't disagree with bits of what you said, but I'm just saying in this particular game, I felt like he was actually a decent outlet, and I agree with you.
I don't think he provided the outlet though.
I think the whole team was dysfunctional, and I'm not saying I don't disagree with you there at all. I'm just saying in this game, I thought he was one of the only players actually finding space. He was one of the only players who, when he actually got the ball, wasn't losing it every single time. And I thought there was one moment in the first half where he did show a bit of a decent final ball. But I agree, he has a confidence issue, 100%. I agree with that.
I still felt he lost the ball a lot, and in talking about finding space, Aurier also found space, but there was no quality at the end. And then I
disagree.
I felt Sessegnon also found space, and there was again no quality.
I thought he had a bit more quality than Aurier. But anyway.
Well, it's fine.
But he did make a mistake for the goal though, Sessegnon as well. He gave it away, and again we conceded the opening goal.
Well, anyway, moving on to Jan Vertonghen, we gave him a 4. This guy is really aging, and it's really catching up to him quickly. I think in the past couple of games he hasn't been at it, and I think it was the same again this game. He let strikers go past him way too easily. He doesn't have that controlling presence really that he used to have, and it's really upsetting to see, to be honest.
He had that chance to make it 1-1 as well in the first half. Probably our best chance of the game from a corner. Which he probably would have done better at, and also the goal as well. He let the ball just go over his head, and he just provided no support for Toby, who also got done for the goal. But I thought Jan, the thing with Jan is, first of all, his long balls just don't seem accurate anymore, and second of all, we just don't see the Jan striding forward as we used to. He doesn't have that confidence to stride forward anymore.
I don't think he has the legs.
Or whatever it is, he just doesn't do it. Whatever the reason is, and it's something that I think we miss in our game. It's something that used to be a big plus, where he used to come into midfield from centre back and he used to drag the midfield out of position, and all of a sudden he used to create space. Then the fact he doesn't do it anymore is a hindrance to our play.
Yeah, and I feel that everyone's talking about this contract that Toby signed and this contract that Jan potentially could be signing. But to be honest, I wouldn't be against not offering him a contract now. I think age has just caught up with him, and I think sometimes you just need to let go.
Next up, we got Toby Alderweireld. We gave him 4. A pretty lacklustre display from him. A couple times, worryingly, he got skinned by, first of all, from Redmond and then from Danny Ings, obviously, for the goal. I have a bit of sympathy for him because I did think he was left exposed by his fellow defenders, but I think he'll probably look at those situations and think he definitely could have done better. And I think there was a stat in after the game. I think Jan Vertonghen and Toby, both between them, played over 30 long balls during the game, and only 6 were accurate. So only 6 found their man. So it shows that the long ball system, well, not system, but the direction there that we're going for is being found out easily. Teams are getting wise to it, and they're not letting the space in behind that the teams that at the beginning of Jose's reign were doing.
Yeah, just 2 points for me is, first of all, he got completely skinned, I think, by Redmond in the first half. Before they scored their goal, he got twisted and turned completely inside out, and then he got completely done for the goal from Danny Ings, taking it over his head, which you just wouldn't see happen to the Toby of old, really, which is also really upsetting to see, and it looks like we're seeing an end to this Jan and Toby centre-back pairing.
Yeah, that's the most worrying thing. They don't seem to be able to do it together anymore. They used to be able to just be stalwarts at the back and hold anything back, but they can't do it anymore, not by themselves, not with no protection. Yeah,
which moves us on to Tanguy Ndombele. We gave him a 6. For the 25 minutes he was on the pitch, I thought he played very well. I thought he was probably our best player on the pitch for those first 25 minutes. But the same old problem with Tanguy Ndombele. Jose Mourinho showed his frustration after the game, talking about it, saying that he's had 10 injuries already since he's been here. This guy is pretty much made of glass. He gets injured pretty much every game or every other game that he plays, and it's really frustrating because he comes into the team last game, and everyone was crying out for him to be in the team, and you see what a brilliant performance he puts in.
And even in this game he started so well.
Mourinho comes out and said that he was the best player on the park, blah blah blah, and then this game he comes out again, puts in an amazing performance for 25 minutes, and then he's down injured, and who knows when he's going to be back now.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, Ndombele, because I really think we're a different team when he's on the pitch. I think he changes the way we play, and it's so frustrating that he just can't keep fit. And it's I don't know if this was ever a problem at Lyon. Nothing that I mean, he passed a medical, and I remember we spoke to the Lyon guy. He didn't mention anything about his injuries, but maybe it's just a settling in period into the Premier League, where it's a much more physical league, and he needs to use his body a lot more, and he gets a lot more challenges. He probably gets kicked a lot more than he did back in France. So whether he can fully adjust, obviously remains to be seen. But he's clearly got the ability to be one of the best midfielders in the league. He just needs to be able to stay fit.
Yeah, the one bad note I would say on Ndombele on his gameplay is actually sometimes he just tries to overplay the ball a bit too much, just trying to do too much. Sometimes maybe he just should keep it a bit more simple. But,
I take that point. I think that's true, but what I would say is it keeps him unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do, and they definitely keeps the opposition guessing. And sometimes he does overcomplicate it, but I think in the game, it's you have to take the good with the bad with that one.
No, I agree with you.
Next up, Mrs. Sissoko, we gave him a 5. I think he struggled a bit more than he would have if Ndombele was still on the pitch. Once Ndombele went off, he had to kind of drop off and be a bit more reserved and be that kind of anchor in midfield. And I don't think he thrives that well in his role. He had a lot of defensive responsibility in that midfield. It was kind of in a 4-3-3, in like a box-to-box kind of position with Ndombele kind of sitting, and then there was Eriksen there. But he went off, but Ndombele went off for Lo Celso, and all of a sudden it was Sissoko, Eriksen, and Lo Celso in the centre. And all of a sudden it was quite lightweight, and he had to be the muscle there. I thought he also got a knock in the second half, and I don't think he fully recovered from that knock during the game. I thought he struggled a bit after he went down injured, and it wasn't his best day. He had a couple of decent moments where you think, okay, this was Sissoko striding forward, but once Ndombele went off, I think it limited his game.
Moving on to Lucas Moura, we gave him a 3. It's a standard problems with Lucas Moura, one brilliant game, one average game, one terrible game, and then it just carries on from there kind of thing. I thought yesterday Lucas Moura, he saw the ball a lot of times, but every time he did see the ball he ran into trouble or did a misplaced pass or something. Very rarely did he find a Tottenham player, and it was just so frustrating to watch Lucas Moura because everyone knows of the qualities this guy has. He just doesn't show it enough and consistently enough, and how long are you going to persist with someone that doesn't perform pretty much every game? We need people that come in to perform consistently, and when you're performing so inconsistently as Lucas Moura, especially knowing the qualities that he has, I don't know, it's just really frustrating.
Some days he has like a perfect first touch. His first touch is like glued to his foot, and then some days it's like the game against Southampton where his second touch is a tackle every time, and he just can't make a pass, he can't make a shot, and he was just severely lacking quality. His best moment was a deflected shot near the end of the game, which nearly went in. But other than he just didn't really pose enough of a threat to the Southampton team. At a couple of moments he dribbled past the defender and wasn't able to have that final ball. And I think there are a lot of fans after the game comparing him to Nacer Chadli on social media. And Nacer Chadli has a better goals to game ratio in the Premier League.
Nacer Chadli scored a lot of goals.
He was bring back Chadli? Is that a thing? I'm not sure. But I think what people are missing with Lucas Moura, I think, is first of all his contributions in the Champions League. It seems to be much better in the Premier League. And I think as a squad player, I think he's a valuable player to have because I think he comes in and he provides qualities the other players don't have. But when you're expecting him to start every game in the Premier League and Champions League and start to rely on him, that's when the problems become. Because I think last season we weren't relying on him. He was just a squad player, and he would come in sometimes, start and be a sub, and he got 15 goals, and he got maybe a couple of assists, and that's fine if you're a squad player. But if you're a main starter, you expect more from him. So he's just a player that I would be hesitant to rely on every week.
Agreed.
Next up, Dele Alli, we gave him a 4. Unlucky, in my opinion, not to get a penalty. Jose, not from the one they actually VAR'd, the one they didn't check on VAR, which is really frustrating because he checked inside, very similar to Kane's penalty against Norwich. I thought he got taken out, and I actually haven't seen it back yet, but I think on first viewing it definitely looked like a penalty, and Jose echoed those thoughts in his press conference. He said he can't believe they didn't look at that one, but they did look at the one where they did VAR it. Other than that,
I don't get how they didn't look at it. Why won't you look at it if the players are so up in arms? I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense.
It just looked like a penalty. I have to see it back because clearly if they just dismissed it out of hand, there must be a clear reason. But from first viewing, it looked like he clearly got taken out. And Jose after the game said the same thing, that he can't believe that they didn't look at that one, and they did look at one where it clearly wasn't a penalty. Other than that, I think he struggled. I think he did try and take more responsibility when Kane went off, but he's not a striker, and he can't hold the ball up the way that Kane can. And I thought he was out of the game he was pretty anonymous for most of the game. And apart from that, good moment in the first half where he dribbled past a couple of players and nearly created something, he was out of the game most of the times.
Yeah, I think it was another frustrating performance from Dele. I think that he always is trying these flicks and they just more or less they don't come off unless he's having a really good game, and it's just really frustrating to watch. So Dele needs to buck up his ideas, to be honest, because I think the last couple of games now have been poor from him.
Yeah.
Moving on to Christian Eriksen, we gave him a 4. In the last 3 games we've been singing Christian Eriksen's praises, but this game it comes to an end because I thought that he was just sloppy, very sloppy, Eriksen. I thought every time he got the ball, he did look for the good passes, but more times than not, then it wasn't getting through. I just thought that it was just the standard Christian Eriksen performance that we've seen in the past 6 months, really, with not much positive to talk about.
I agree with what you said about Eriksen in the first half, that he was the one looking for the good balls, and those balls in behind to Harry Kane and to the fast and to our attackers, and more often than not, I mean, you say more often than not, literally never came off for him pretty much. And I think the problem with that was he was looking for the Hollywood pass pretty much every time, which is good and bad. But when it's not coming off at all, then obviously it becomes a detriment to the team. But I did feel like at least he was taking more responsibility than other players in possession and trying to make something happen. And I don't think he had a good game. I do agree with you on most of your points. He was sloppy and his passing didn't come off. But at least I felt like he was trying.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think in the last 20 minutes when we were looking for the ball, for the goal, he was kind of the guy in possession trying to look for those dinks over the top,
control things and just
control
moving
things,
around.
But still, just the quality is just not good enough.
Yeah, the quality wasn't good enough. Lastly, we got Harry Kane. We also gave him a 4. He had a few moments, but didn't get involved enough in the final third. He had a few runs in behind, but again, he wasn't able to be found by Eriksen or the other players. He obviously had a goal chalked off offside, which he ended up pulling his hamstring while doing so.
That was one of the worst minutes.
Yeah, which was absolutely horrendous news. Looking at the replay as well, it was one of those armpit ones, it seemed. So it was very frustrating that he got called off offside. And he'll probably feel disappointed he didn't do more in the game, but now it looks like we're going to lose him for however long.
Well,
with the
2-3 weeks
at
minimum.
least, probably at least 2 weeks. If you pull your hamstring, it's definitely at least 2 weeks. So, and if he's torn his hamstring, then yeah, it's going to be a lot longer. So that's worrying news. And Jose said after the game, once Kane goes off, we lose our target man, and the game becomes that much harder. And it did. We had a zero threat pretty much going forward when Kane went off.
Yeah, like you said earlier on, people like Dele Alli and Christian Eriksen tried to take more responsibility when he went off, but it just didn't happen. We don't have someone like Kane, like a target man up there that can do what he does, and I think losing him under Mourinho is going to be a lot bigger than losing him under Pochettino.
And it even calls into question further why we let Llorente go, as much as how weird that sound. But
no, well, it doesn't sound weird because Llorente was very important to us last year and provided some big moments for us in some big occasions. So
when that run when Kane was injured, I thought he did a great job.
He did do a great job, and not only when Kane was injured, but coming off the bench in the early rounds of the Champions League and helping us with knock-ons or goals or whatever it is. Llorente was a great servant for us, and
so we never really replaced him.
We never replaced him. We never replaced Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
We never replaced Moussa Dembele.
Yeah.
But that's for another video.
The substitutes. Well, Lo Celso played 25. Came on after 25 minutes.
Yeah, Lo Celso. It was just more of the same from the last game, really, from Lo Celso. I thought it was a similar performance that he put in against Norwich. Seeing some of the ball, trying to make stuff happen. You're trying to win the ball back.
Putting himself about, wasn't he?
He puts himself about, but he just runs into trouble way too often.
Yeah. But again, he does a few really nice things. You think, okay, that was really nice, but then he just doesn't have that ruthlessness about him when he gets in and around the box. Like tries to get a shot off, and it ends up being a weak shot, or nothing too concerning for the opposition. I'm hoping again, just a readjusting period. We haven't seen too much of Lo Celso, but I feel like out of the signings, he's probably got the most settling in to do. You would think. Unlike with Ndombele, where you can clearly see the talent there.
I think you can clearly see the talent that Lo Celso has. I really do. I really think that you can see that there's a player there. You can, but he just keeps running into trouble. That's my problem.
I just feel like he has the most. I feel like in Spain, it's just the way football's played, with time on the ball, and he has time to take a touch, bring it down, and make a pass. It's not the same in the Premier League, so he needs to speed up his game a bit. One thing I do like about him, he seems to have a lot of composure and calmness in possession. He seems very good with his chest control as well every time it's played to him. So there are some positives, but I'd like to see some more from him, obviously. And then obviously Lamela came on for a bit as well.
Yeah, Lamela wasn't great when he came on. Obviously, when he came on against Norwich, he was brilliant. All energy display, and I think he tried, but it just wasn't coming off.
I thought a couple of moments he did very well when there was like 3-4 players around him. He ended up winning a free kick and things like that. He did some things nice, but again, it's not. You can't really change the game too much when he's only given 15 minutes. Do we use another sub? I don't think we did.
Lo Celso, Lamela.
No, I don't think we did. No one else came on.
Okay.
All right, what do you think of Jose in terms of how he managed the game?
I think Jose, can't really argue with the starting lineup, to be honest. I think...
No, 4-3-3, first time he'd done that
yeah,
from the
no,
start.
you can't argue with the starting lineup. I think it was attacking enough, but obviously game plan somehow a bit goes out the window after 25 minutes when Tanguy Ndombele goes down injured. Did we concede before Tanguy went off or after?
I think it was before. I think Tanguy might have been on the pitch when we conceded.
The problem we have at the moment is these first half of games when we go 1-0 down and can't figure our way back into the game. That is the problem, and I'm really not sure how to combat it because, you know, we're actually starting games all right. We're actually having chances, and we don't put away our chances. We go 1-0 down, and it seems like it's game over from there.
Yeah. I'm not sure how Jose really needs to pinpoint where the real problems are in this squad, and we need to target those weaknesses with surgical precision, as he would say, in the transfer market. Whether we have the facilities and the chairman to do that, clearly, we've seen it before. That it's very unlikely,
seen, doesn't it?
It's very unlikely. We'll see how the January goes, but he's got so many problems to figure out in this squad, and it's clear for all to see that Poch left this squad. There's a reason why he wasn't able to turn it around, and it's not because he's a bad manager, Pochettino. It's because the squad has gone very stale and it doesn't have the energy and the hunger they used to have. And it's all good re-energizing the squad for a short amount of time in the short term, but in the long term, clearly there's still a lot of problems to sort out. And especially in midfield and defence, I feel like when Ndombele is not playing, that midfield just doesn't have that ability to be a press that it would have, and the physicality to compete there. And the defence seems very slow, and it just doesn't seem sharp as the other attacks in the Premier League. And we're getting found out at the back, especially week in, week out, and especially the mistakes as well are costing us dear. And it's something he's going to have to look into very much if he's going to arrest the slide and make a serious bid for top four. Because every time we get close, we keep bottling it.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it was all great having a little manager bounce when we for a few games when Jose came in. But right now we're seeing pretty much the exact same performances as the back end of the Maurizio Pochettino era, and it's hard to see. So I'm not sure a way to fix it. The way I look at things, it's the case of Pochettino deserved to have his rebuild, and if they're going to give it to Mourinho, then it's a bit of a slight.
Better make it fucking worth it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a slight on Pochettino, but look, we're here. We're with Mourinho now. We got it back until the end, but we need to see.
He's not a miracle worker just yet. He's got, he can't just come in and change everything.
Sold himself as a miracle worker.
Yeah, he needs a transfer window clearly, but hopefully by the end of January, once the Champions League comes back round, we'll have his ideas more implemented, and maybe we'll have a couple of signings. We can all hope, but at the moment we're just seeing that clearly this squad does have a lot of problems, and Pochettino wasn't the problem, especially the only problem, and he's gonna have to sort it out and fast.
Yeah. All right, well, there you have it. That's our player ratings for the Southampton game. Like, subscribe and comment below and tell us what you thought of our ratings. And as always,
come on you Spurs.